no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
Welcome back to the Senior Citizen Podcast, and today we are here with the new wave of shoegaze, Rare Phantom.
How we doing, everybody? It's good to be here.
No, thank you for coming out. I think you have a super interesting project going on. So I want to hear a little bit about how Rare Phantom got started. How long have you been doing this for?
So music was always something that I've gravitated towards. I'm not really too sure what the infatuation is that it came from, but I just remember listening to the radio and just always having some sort of urge to sing along to the songs. So I would do that for years, up until the pandemic. And when the pandemic happened, I had a friend who had a recording studio, and he would just have us come over, and it was out of the way of the public. So we would go and hang out there, and I would be around all like the microphones and the recording equipment. And at some point, I was just like, well, I'm here. I might as well try and see how my voice sounds like on the microphone. So I just had like little, like, I guess you could say lines in my notes that I decided to try and just like put on a random instrumental. And I never really liked the way my voice sounds in like videos. Like I know a lot of people, they hear their voice in a video and they cringe up. So I'd be like that. So I was like a little afraid to try it out, but I heard it on the instrumental. And I was like, wow, this sounds incredible. Like, I didn't expect myself to sound so good on like a song or instrumental or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got addicted to just messing around and seeing what I could do with my voice. And it just became like, almost like you have like a blank piece of paper and my voice is like the paintbrush. So I just kind of paint over different instrumentals. And I used the instrumentals as like a different surface. So I just started doing that for fun. And again, this was in the pandemic, so I only had so much to do. So I ended up buying like my own equipment, and I made my own little home studio. And for years, I would just spend every weekend just inside, just playing with my voice, trying to find my sound. And eventually I decided to take it serious. And that's when I moved down here. And that was probably about a year ago now.
Oh, wow. Where did you live before?
I was in Boston before.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a great place to live, but it's kind of small. It's not really...
It's not Miami.
It's not Miami. It's like a more family-oriented Miami. So it's like better if you have like a family, but being a creative and like trying to pursue something on like a larger scale, it's not really the place for it, but it's a great place to start. And I do love Boston, and I like going back there to visit, but being down here, I just feel like there's a lot more to do. Things are faster, and I like doing things in rapid succession. So it just kind of fits what I'm looking for in this current moment a little bit more. But to answer the question, I just started music for fun because it was just something to keep my mind off things, and like I had nothing else to really do. I could either go out and drink and just do stuff that wouldn't really bring me anywhere, or like create art. And I felt like my time was better off trying to create something and slowly building a legacy. And at the time it didn't feel like that's what I was doing, but I look back on it now and like I see all the stuff that I was doing was building up to this moment here. So it was just something that, again, I felt like was me being productive at the time. Mm-hmm. So it was just me trying to make the best of the situation that I had, which wasn't really much in Boston.
Right. I love your first experience with, well, you were like, oh, let me just hear myself, because we hear ourselves on video and we're like, right. Oh my God, I hate that. With my first, like, on-camera interview with a Latin artist. So that was 5 years ago at this point.
Oh wow, so we're in the same time.
Right, and yeah. I remember hearing my voice and I was like, oh my God, I hate this.
Right?
Like, how am I going to do this? I didn't even want to edit it because I didn't want to look or hear it myself.
You had to go back and to listen to the whole thing too.
Right, because to go and edit it and everything. And I remember that first interview, I covered it up I put an instrumental behind it.
Oh, really?
I put a bunch of like little graphics popping up and whatever every time they mention something. Like I remember even going in and drawing on like the iPad or whatever, the little graphics I needed to not steal it from anywhere else. It was insane. And then over time you start getting used to it and you hear yourself and you're like, no, I like this, or let me see how I can do this differently. And same thing, you look back at what you're doing, you're like, oh my God, I'm so proud of everything, I've gotten done.
Because you could leave something behind, and again, like you could go and have fun, but like you don't really have much to look back on unless you're taking videos and stuff like that. But when I feel like I'm making any sort of art, like I feel like I'm it's like building a portfolio in a way, just in a different sense because it's not physical.
Yeah.
So it's something that I can always go back on, and like you could remember, like even with podcasts, I'm sure, like a time in your life, like when you were filming, you could remember the year, you could remember the month, and like it's like a good way to kind of like put like a pin in like that time in your life and how you were feeling and the way that you carried yourself. So I kind of like it in that sense where it's like,
no, and in the digital world, you're leaving a footprint. Like it's not a physical, tangible thing, but like, I mean, if you want it to be, put it on a CD. It's like, it still can be. But that's super cool. Yeah, you can look back at those times and be like, you know, this time in my life, and only so many drunken pictures and or videos are fun until you're just like, oh God, there's something wrong with me.
Right. And a lot of those things you can't really like show your family and be proud of. I feel like with music and stuff and any sort of creative thing, you could like show them and you could be like, look what I spent my time doing. Like,
exactly.
See, and like your family, they always want to know like, oh, what are you up to? What are you doing? So like, that's another good way to show them like, this is what I'm doing. I spent all my time doing this, whether they like it or not. At least they could see like, oh, you're trying to be productive, like you're trying to be creative. So I try and push that a little bit more. I mean, you can go out and have some fun. There's no problem in that. But I mean, I feel like people that prioritize just like fun every single weekend, like save the fun for later after you feel like you've accomplished something to deserve the fun. I feel like a lot of people need to spend more time trying to be creative because it could also be almost like therapy for themselves. Mm-hmm. You can kind of like feel a little bit better knowing that like I spent my time working hard on something like this, and like maybe somebody else can enjoy this, and you never know what it could do for somebody else.
For sure.
That's what I like about music, because there's a lot of music that's done a lot for me, which wasn't intended to be the case because whoever was making the music didn't know about me. So I just feel like it's my duty being able to give back to the community that I feel like helped me so much.
And that's a beautiful way to look at it. What are those musicians that made music that helped you? What were your influences growing up? Did we go through any like scene or emo phases?
I would say the earliest music was kind of in, I guess if you want to consider like Linkin Park, Green Day, like an emo type of phase. I liked a lot of like obscure like radio songs, like one-off songs.
The one-hit wonders.
yeah. Like I remember like songs just like Dancing Queen, like stuff in the radio that are like cult classic songs. Like I don't know what it was about them, but they just like made me excited to like listen to music, and it almost felt like I was being transported to a different world, and I could just kind of like be out of my own body like while I listened to these songs. But Green Day and Linkin Park were my earliest form of like, this is what I actually like love when it comes to music, and that's what really got me into like music as a whole. And then from there I slowly transitioned to, I wouldn't say like a specific artist or band, but it was more just like obscure one-off underground songs that like nobody knew about, because I feel like, oh, nobody knew about this song, it feels a lot more tailored to like me.
Okay.
And like that was like after I started to love music, because for a long time I just felt like, oh, everybody likes like this song. Like I would just kind of feel like I'm trying to be like everybody else, liking the same song that everybody loves, or whatever number one top hit song. Not that it would be a bad song, but I would just feel like I need to find music that fits like me, but also like my mood, and like it almost just feels like each song was like a different version of me, and I could just like match that up with how I was feeling like per day. So I guess you could say it kind of started off with like the emo, like kind of moody phase when it comes to my music.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, they did start off with Linkin Park. I think they genuinely are one of the really iconic bands in this scene that a lot of people take inspiration. It's taken 76 episodes that I could usually tell when somebody's inspired by Linkin Park.
Oh, yeah.
And I could not with you.
Really?
Yeah, I listened to some song and I was like, it's different. But like, I didn't like pin it to like, oh, this guy listens to Linkin Park, which is what usually happens to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my thing. I try not, because I like so many different things. Like even like early like Aaron Carter, I remember hearing him on the radio and being like, I don't know what it is, but like this is just so catchy to my ear. So I try and take a little bit of like every single artist from every single genre that I've enjoyed and just try and make my own thing out of it, because I could just like pick like my favorite and try to just emulate that. But I feel like I have to like try and give something original to the community, because again, like I could try and be like Linkin Park, or I could try and be like me. If I try and be like Linkin Park, people will just be like, oh, well, we'll just listen to Linkin Park. That's just a better version of what this guy's trying to emulate. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm creating something, to really keep it original. And that's like the fun thing, is like creating something that like you've never heard before. It's like creating a new invention.
Yeah.
Like Elon Musk with a microphone.
I think a lot of people go through that whole like, I'm sounding like something, and then one day they wake up and it's like, wait, I can do whatever I want. Like, I don't have to follow any rules, which
Right.
is super fun.
And you have like different moods. So you're like, oh, I'm feeling like happy, like party. I create a party song. Oh, I'm feeling a little sad. Like I'll make a slower, more moody type of song. And like you can make a song for really anything and any type of instrumental. And I think if you put yourself in a box and you're just like one sound, you're only going to be able to make so many different songs like in that one sound. So I think it's better off that like you try and branch out and do stuff you might not be comfortable with, because I think if you're an artist, especially a musician, you can make any type of song. But some people, they only like to make what they like to listen to, but it's not always about what you want to listen to. It's about what everybody else might enjoy.
Yeah, and I've seen it from other bands in the scene where they're so dead set on having a certain kind of sound that they really are limiting themselves to an extent where like you're not really going anywhere because you're afraid to think out of the box and venture out. And sometimes it's one person in the band controlling all that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Before we move on to all the bands and stuff, I do want to touch on those underground bands that you are like listening to, or music or whatever. Did you gatekeep? 'Cause I was a huge music gatekeeper. I don't know about you.
So I wouldn't like gatekeep per se. Like I would have a really huge playlist. Like I know some people, they might have like specific playlists, but I just made like a massive playlist over the years, and I wouldn't like send the songs out, but I would like play them in the car with people.
Okay.
To almost feel like I was like being a DJ. So like creating my own atmosphere to like, if I was going to hang out with somebody and we were going to like go somewhere, like that would be a part of like your fun for the night, is me trying to like show you new music and be your little personal DJ on the way there. And I found like a lot of, I don't know, enjoyment in doing that, because a lot of people are like, oh, what's this song? And like, you hear that song afterwards, you might put on your playlist, and then you always think of who showed you that song.
Right.
And I think that's like a special part about music, because like, I don't really know any other type of art form where people are like, oh yeah, this person showed me like this painting, or like whatever else it might be.
Yeah, it's definitely harder.
So it almost like made me feel like a little bit more connected to the song if I was the first person to be able to show everybody else. But I would say I'd kind of be gatekeeping a little bit.
No, you were a lot nicer to me. It's like, no, I listen to that. You can't listen to that. Like, I'm talking about like when I was like 13.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah,
no,
younger.
you can't listen to that. That's my music. That's my favorite.
You would feel like that though with some songs. where
You feel like
"Oh,
ownership of it.
yeah, you're copying me. Why are you trying to be like me, listen to the same music? But I'm sure like everybody felt like that with one specific song that everybody else in the entire world might have had in their playlist doing the same thing with.
No, the thing you do in the car reminded me of this Uber driver. I had a trip to St. Augustine that I was with my boyfriend. He had a really bad migraine, so we were like, okay, let's just go back, and we left our friend group.
Yeah.
And this guy had strobe lights in the car, and he was like, what do you want to hear? And he was just putting music, and my boyfriend's like, I have a migraine, can you turn them off? So he turns them off, and he just keeps trying to talk to us, and we're like, bro.
That's funny.
Not the moment.
I had an Uber driver do that, but he also had like a plug-in microphone and a speaker in there. So like,
Oh, that's so fun.
he'd be like, you pick a song and you could do karaoke in the Uber to like where we're going. So I thought that was super cool. So
No,
for
Uber
any Uber
drivers?
drivers out there, there's a creative tip to enhance your experience.
No, Uber drivers are like in another world now. Like it used to be just like get in the car, get off. Now it's like a whole experience. Here's some gum and mints and stuff. So that's
It's a
insane.
little robotic when they just sit there and they don't really say anything. Like, you know, they could be normal. Doesn't have to be weird.
The last one I had was like, okay, so I don't know if you've noticed some cars now, the back seat has a detector if you have your seatbelt on.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
No, and I never wear my seatbelt in the back seat. So it was going off, and the guy was like, oh, God. And I'm like, oh, that's me. I'm sorry. Because he was telling my boyfriend to put the middle seat one in. And I was like, oh, that's me. And I plugged it in. And he's like, oh, yeah, I don't know why these cars do this now. And I'm like, yeah, I've never had a car like that. And he's like, yeah, you know, my friend actually, like, his life was saved because he didn't have a seatbelt on. And I'm like,
Because he didn't have a seatbelt on.
yeah, because
Really?
since he didn't have the seatbelt on, he flew out of the car. And the car got completely wrecked. But he was just some injuries outside of the car.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, seatbelts are subjective at this point.
That's like a point in time where I feel like that was supposed to happen. Almost
yeah.
Like a God-sent situation.
Yes, absolutely.
Crazy. But yeah, maybe sometimes in situations, like, you never know.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
The
I was
exception never makes the rule, but
basically.
that's interesting, yeah.
So, I mean, going back to music, I don't even take Ubers that often. It's just every time it's memorable.
Yeah,
Like,
I've
going back-
probably taken like 2 before, so I'm not really too familiar with this.
Exactly. But every time it's an experience, so it's always fun.
Yeah.
Your songwriting process. So you jump a lot on instrumentals, you do a lot of improv and think, okay, I want to keep this, or is there a whole, how do you get these instrumentals? What's the process like?
So I'll kind of like be listening to music, and again, like I'm always listening to, I like to put on like shuffle and just listen to like, because my playlist is so big. I put on shuffle and then I'll like send the songs that like, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this song, to the top of my playlist. I'll like unlike it and like it, so it's like goes to the top.
I need the link of this playlist, by the way, so we can share it with everybody.
Oh yeah, that's a lot. Like I think it's like I forget how many hours. Like it's like 6 days worth of music.
Oh my god.
It's a lot, but it's all different genres, like all different types of styles. But I would do that, and then I take some of those songs, because like I know everybody has like a song that they'll hear and they'll listen to like 8 times a day for like 2 weeks straight before they get super sick of it.
I think that's an ADHD thing, but yes.
It might be. I never really thought of that, but those specific songs that I feel like that for, like I would hear like the instrumental and then I'd be like, ooh, like I need to find like a producer who can give me an instrumental that's not exactly like this, but has the same like tone and cadence. And then I would almost just put like what I feel like, because sometimes I'll like hear a song and I'll hear the instrumental, I'll really like it, but like the substance and the words and the lyrics, they won't really feel like they're like supposed to be on that. I feel like they should be saying something else. So I'll just put like what I feel like should have been said originally.
Okay.
And then it'll just like, I'll pick like a mood, and then I'll pick like a topic from like almost like a story. And then I'll try and write like in between those two. And then I'll like make it super complicated and long, and then I'll just go back and simplify it. And I'll usually go over it maybe like 4 or 5 times. And then when I'm like, all right, this is enough words, or it's not too complicated and it could fit on this instrumental, like this works perfectly.
Okay.
And I try and shoot for like 2 to 2.5 minute songs. Like I'm not like a 4 or 5 minute song guy personally.
The little sound bites that people
Yeah,
can.
something that has good replay value.
Right. No, that's an awesome way of doing it. And I like that you go back to it, you turn away and go back to it. It sounds like you do this often. So what's that ratio of like things I'm recording and doing to things that actually get released?
I used to record like a lot more and just kind of have it for like my own personal like listens. So I'd like keep it in like my private library where like it would just be for me. And I would maybe release, like I'd probably record 12 songs and then release like 2 of those songs. But nowadays, like I'm only trying to write stuff that I'm going to release. So I'll like write a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of instrumentals that I'll like, but like I won't actually go through and record it unless I plan on like, this is going to be a song that I'm going to put out. Because I've done for years just like making songs and then not releasing them. And I almost just felt like, oh, I just put so much time and effort into this and like, I'm not going to release it. Like, why would I do that? Like, I need to at least give the people something that I put all my time and effort into. But I'll usually do like a song like a month nowadays, but I'll have like a bunch of backlog of lyrics and stuff like that. And I do have to go back over time because I always like write something and like, I feel like people think you got to do it all in like one session or one day. But like you go back like 2 weeks later and be like, oh, I didn't think of this. Or like, oh, I'm not as tired, so like I can make this better. Or like, now I feel this type of mood, so like I feel like it would be better with this word, or like this instrumental might work a little bit better with these words. So I do a lot of like going back and forth in that regard.
Okay. Yeah, there's some people that even like go back after a year of writing something. I remember one of my favorite artists was like, yeah, I wrote that song like 2 years ago when I started, because he's in school for music, and like, and it was dog shit. Like I hated this song, and now it's like one of my favorite songs because he went back and he changed and revisited. He even played it live a couple of times, and from the feedback he knew what to add or what to change from it. So I think it's super important to go back and not get everything done in a rush, because it is art. It's people didn't sit down and paint a portrait in one day.
That was an interesting thing you said too, where like you said he didn't like the song personally, but you liked it. I've made a lot of songs where I'm like, oh, I hate this. Like, this doesn't sound good. But other people are like, oh, no, this is like my favorite song that you made. And I'm like, oh, really? So you have a lot of like, maybe I should just put everything out because I might not like it. But like, there could be a huge group of people that love this song. So like you got to kind of get past the like, again, like only making stuff that like you want to hear.
Yeah, and then you have a lot of material probably for like a B-sides EP or a B-sides album that you could just drop eventually, which would be really cool.
Yeah, or just like you could send it to like a hosting page like on YouTube, and like there's like many different pages like Trash AMV and stuff like that where you could just send it to them and like they can make like an AMV, it's like animated music video behind it, and like they can just post it, and like you never know what like their channel can do.
Yeah, the little visualizers and stuff.
Yeah. They'll take like old, like, because I'm like big into like the anime art style, so like they'll take like different clips of anime and they put it behind the song, whatever they feel like might fit the vibe of the song, and post it somewhere. And like if you post it, it might not do anything and might not get to an audience, but like you give it to a hosting page, like they can find the exact audience that you've been looking for. But again, you're not like willing to take the risk, like you're probably not going to find it. But
yeah,
the ones that you're not like, oh, I love this song, like maybe just try and donate it to a page, and like
doesn't hurt putting it out somewhere, you know. Yeah
Again, doesn't have to be something that you promo, but like you give it to somebody else, and you never know, it could help you out and you just didn't realize it would.
For sure. Now you mentioned like the little anime and visuals and stuff, it's like I remember when anime wasn't cool, dude.
Right? Yeah, back when I was like a huge fan, when I was like super young, like people were like, oh, what's that like weird stuff you listen to? But like I just love the art. Again, back to the art, like the art style of it was just super creative to me.
No, there's some animes I won't watch just because the art looks so weird.
Me too.
Like if their forehead is drawn a certain way, I'm like, I can't do this.
I feel the same way. But it's almost just like a regular show. It's almost like a like more in-depth cartoon, and it's like better than like a reality TV show because like there's a lot more effort that goes behind creating it. And I like the animes, like the story and message behind it usually has like a really, really good, like deeper meaning that could be really useful, and it's like positive for the most part.
Yeah, obviously it's not all of them, but some storylines are just fantastic, like blow your mind away. Because I remember watching Madoka Magica for the first time, which was like, holy shit, I thought it was just a cute magical girl anime. And
right?
There's one called The Erase that I always love telling people to watch. It's not action-y or anything. It's very slice of life-y, but it's heart-wrenching. Like, it is just the cutest thing.
And those are my favorite ones, too. It doesn't have to be all about the action and the gore. And
I don't like gore. I had to suffer through Chainsaw Man. I'm like, this shit is too gory for me.
Oh, yeah, right. Sometimes they just do too much just to try and, like, sell the shock value, but it's not always about that. If it's a good storyline, then, like, it's a show that I could watch.
Yeah, they have good storylines, but the gore just gets... I don't like anything gory.
Yeah,
it's
almost like making up for the fact that it lacks a storyline.
Yeah. But, all right, so what's your goal, your dream as an artist? Where do you want to get to?
So I just like releasing music. Like, for some reason, that's the only thing that I really, truly enjoy when it comes to, like, having the option to go do anything. Like, if I could spend my time just in the studio for X amount of hours, if I could have unlimited energy to do so with an engineer that was willing to sit there all night and all day with me, I would probably do that, like, in my free time, aside from just, like, going to the gym and, like, doing everyday stuff, like doing my laundry. Obviously, got to set some time for that. But all my other free time, I would love to just spend creating until I, like, physically couldn't do it anymore. And my goal is to really just inspire other people to be creative, because I'm not like an entity that can't be, again, used and replicated, but in an original way. Like, somebody could take my process and do it in their own way, and like I encourage everybody to do that, because if we have more people being creative and spending their time not just trying to be destructive, and like we would have probably a lot safer places, I guess you could say, in a way. It would be a lot less angry people, and like, again, it's a good way to like let your emotions out. So I want to inspire people to use their time a lot more wisely in a creative sense, because again, we could create like songs that I would love to listen to, like you might love to listen to, and that person might not create that song because they don't feel like, oh, I might not be accepted, or I might be judged for this sound or that sound. But not everybody's going to love your music. I think if everybody tried to create, like, just like me when I first started, I didn't like my voice, and other people did, so I kept it going. Mm-hmm. So I want to just be able to create, be in a space where I can create every day, all day, and inspire other people to do the same. It would lead to me having more people to collaborate too on songs. I would like to have a lot more collaborators in the future with my music.
Oh, you're doing exactly what the music environment has at this moment, which is a lot of collaborations and fusing of genres. In the last couple of years, that has just been an insane process. Especially, I see it a lot in the Latin world too. Like you had like the freaking 7 people on a collab.
I've seen that, yeah. And I'm sure like the studio sessions are like a lot more fun because like you could just have you in the studio, but like it's almost like a party. Like when you have like everybody in there and everybody's working on something.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want people to just like gonna do nothing and just take up space, but like if you have like a room full of people who are all like adding ideas to like this one song, like you could make like this crazy masterpiece of a song. So like I think those environments would be a lot more fun than just like, again, spending time just like going and drinking and sitting at like a bar, just not really being productive. Like,
Right. That's for after the session.
yeah. If you want to do that, you could do that. But I feel like if you want to like really have a good time, like you'd be in an environment where it's more curated towards like artists. If you're an artist,
Right.
like these are all like-minded people. Like we can get along with everybody here, and we can all like create something together.
Right.
I think the strongest bonds are created when like you could work together with somebody to like build something.
Yeah, especially creatively.
Oh, big.
What you're saying that you would like for the world, and I think everybody would like for the world in creating art, I think there's just a systemic issue, especially with men, where it's like, okay, art is more of a feminine thing, maybe.
In a way, yeah.
Not speaking for everybody's household, but it's probably just the way that they were raised. So if, some parents find their son writing poetry and being vulnerable and XYZ, they might look down on it. And that's where the issues start, where instead of setting your kid on a path of being able to express their emotions in a healthy way, it turns into violence and or, something not so great. Whereas if you encourage that kind of stuff and, okay, we're going to have these outlets where you can let go of what you're feeling, you create artists, or you create just a healthy functioning adult to some extent.
Yeah, I think the violent outbursts really come from like bottling up emotions, and like,
It is, yeah.
it's all right to feel emotions, whether it's happy, sad, angry, like, and it's better to write them down because it helps you, like, again, if you just have like something that's bothering you and you never want to talk about it, like it's going to eat you alive. But like, again, music is almost like you're talking to the world.
Yeah.
So I feel like if a lot more people, drop that stigma, because we're all human, we all feel emotions, whether you want to like hide it or not. Like we all know that we all get sad, we all get happy, we all get excited. So like, instead of hiding it and again, like using it towards something good, like we all have energy, like you could waste it just being alone and feeling sad, or you could be alone, be sad, and try to do something with it to keep your mind off the emotion that might be bothering you. And I think, again, every song can come from any emotion. So I feel like it's only right that, again, like you at least give it a shot. And I think if everybody tried, like maybe half of those people might find a passion in music and, again, create a great piece of art, a great album. Like, but again, no one's really going to know unless they try. A lot of people, they just like the idea, but they don't want to actually try it. And I really, really do encourage everybody out there who might feel like they're halfway in the idea of creating a song, like just try it out and see if it works for you.
Right.
It doesn't have to be in a day. It could take you as long as you want. But
yeah,
I think if everybody just gave it a shot, at least just once, like you might find your next biggest passion.
Right.
You might find your next biggest move in your life and your career.
Yeah, and even if it's not music, it could be anything. It could be drawing, it could be painting,
drawing,
exactly,
movies, anything,
dancing, any sorts of art. Because I can't do music. I have no ear for music, absolutely. So, but I that same expressing it comes out in so many different ways, and I think it's just healthy for everybody to find that way to express how they feel, that they
Yeah, it really could be anything that's gonna leave a lasting impression that's positive on the world. Like again, photography,
or even if it's just for
movies,
you, it doesn't have to be
writing a story,
put out into the world. Exactly, writing, short story writers, you're something.
Right? Yeah, I wish I could write movies and stuff like that.
Here's my 30-page story.
Right?
You're what?
I always wished I could write something so coherent in that sense. I can do a short form, but like
I can do poems.
Like 3-hour movie, like Avatar or something like that. Like I wish I could keep my mind in one spot like that for that long to write something as beautiful as that.
For sure. Before we close out with our game, I did want to ask you, how do you go about finding the producers for that instrumental? Are there any that you recommend that you want to shout out from the area?
Honestly, I'll be on Instagram and I have like familiar producers. Usually they're just like younger people who are just like making instrumentals on the internet for fun who don't really have much of a voice or a following. So I'll connect. I have like a huge wide variety of them, so it's hard to just pick out one. I would be here for probably 10 minutes listening to them off. But I'll like find them, and usually they'll have like a bunch of other friends, and they'll all send me like a pack. So it'll be just like a bunch of different instrumentals that they made that like they might think they're like throwaways, and I might hear one or two and be like, oh, I'm gonna use this one. And again, maybe if I don't like any of theirs, they might have a friend who has something that they made, like even if it was like a couple years ago. Or I'll find somebody who is good at sampling, and I'll take like a really like old song that I feel like I connected with as a kid and almost try and like make my own repurposed version of it. So stuff like that, like, but it's really just like
There's
whoever's
social
available.
media.
Yeah, through social media is like usually where I connect, but like whoever's available at the time to like create what I'm looking for at that exact moment, like that's usually who I rock with.
And there's nothing more beautiful than finding that one person that can create your vision. Because it happened with my graphic designer. I was like, oh my God, you understand me. Like, we are one.
Yeah, right? You feel like you're connecting with them through the art, which is a beautiful thing. And I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, I need this huge big name producer. But I think the people who are like super small, like who don't really have much recognition, they create a lot more like
Intricate different stuff.
unique sounds, because again, they're just trying to make a name for themselves. So I feel like I also want to be able to give them a platform to shine and show their art, because nobody else might be willing to give them that, just because, oh, this person doesn't have followers, or this person doesn't have any like notable works of art that they've already put out. Like I don't really like that stigma. So I feel like anybody can make something great.
No, that's awesome. I love that outlook. I love that you give people the opportunity. That's the basis we run off of. I don't care how many followers or how established you are. Everybody's welcome in this podcast as long as they're a decent human being.
I agree, yeah.
We usually close off our episodes with a game.
Oh, sweet.
And this is the ick list. So I'm going to tell you an ick from an article, and you can tell me if you think it's a red, a beige, or a green flag.
Okay.
They believe in conspiracy theories.
I'd say green.
Green?
Yeah.
So 9/11 was staged. Sandy Hook didn't happen.
I think it's green because they're open and have an open mind, so they aren't just like stuck in one way. I feel like they're more open to believing many different possibilities.
Okay, fair enough. They bite their fingernails.
Beige. I feel like it's an anxiety thing.
It's like, let's get some pepper polish on that. They have a messy car.
I'd say beige because you could have a messy car and then just have that one day where you're like, I'm going to go on like a cleaning streak and it could be spotless just like that. But I feel like
when you like lock in and you just clean everything.
Yeah.
That's been messy for like 3 months.
I feel like it's hard to just keep a car where it's like constantly spotless. Like there's always going to be dirt. There's always going to be sand and like mud that gets like drawn in. So like that's just natural again. It has to go beige.
Fair enough. They believe in star signs.
I say beige because some people, they're a little extreme with it. So like they'll like base everybody off like, oh, you're this sign, so you must be like this, and like I can't see you any other way. But the people that use it in more positive sense, where they're like, all right, like this can kind of make more, when you're like kind of just trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like put people in a box because they're like a certain sign or something like that. Like I don't agree with that stuff.
Right.
Like if you're looking to understand people more through the signs, like I can agree with that because you're just trying to learn more about people around you and everybody's different. So I go a little bit more on the beige side too.
It's only a green flag for me when somebody's talking to me and they all of a sudden go like, oh, you're an Aquarius or you're a Pisces. And then they act like they got it without asking you. And it's like, how? Are you a wizard? They confidently sing the wrong lyrics or get a famous quote wrong.
Green flag.
Green flag.
Big time. Because confidence is key. It's all about confidence. Whether it's right or wrong, if you're confident with it, like I could champion that.
Right. Like I'm here for you.
Hell yeah.
And the last one is they can't cook.
I'd say beige because I feel like everybody could, but not everybody has the time to be a great cook. I'm not the best cook myself, but if I had the time to like read a recipe and really trying to learn, I definitely could. So I feel like everybody has the potential to be, but what I'm looking for is somebody that probably could because I can't. So maybe I might be like a red flag to somebody, and maybe that person might be a green flag to me. Who knows?
I think cooking also, like, aside from just the basic mechanics, which is like what I can't do, like I burn shit.
Yeah,
I think there's
me
a
too.
creativity aspect to it that goes along. So it's like, okay, you can cook, but are you like, chef level? Like you see people like on Top Chef and Master Chef.
Oh, yeah.
They just
I
come up with
envy
these
those
crazy
people.
dishes. Right. And you're like, I don't want to try that because it's a weird combination. So that's also another art form in the kitchen. Just
I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of
Creativity.
people I met where I'm like, I don't know how you made this, but like it tastes like,
yeah, or like, why'd you mix those two things? And then it tastes really good. It's so weird.
yeah, right. I have all respect for people that are great at cooking because again,
Same.
I've never been that guy, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day. This is your shameless plug limit. Go ahead and let that camera know everything they need to know about Rare Phantom.
My name's Rare Phantom. You could find me on all platforms, RarePhantom. I have a new song releasing Wednesday, July 27th, I believe. It's called Heart Eater. It's my first major studio recorded song. This song I put a lot of my effort and my time into. I've been anticipating this for probably the last year or so. I'm super excited for it. So that'll be my next release coming soon. Again, it's on all platforms. You'll be able to find snippets if you want to just hear a little bit. Like a lot of people like snippets, a lot of people like the whole thing. So regardless of what you like, it's going to be everywhere for you to listen to. But you can find me on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, whatever you use. I'll be there for you to enjoy. So it's really a preference, and I make sure I'm everywhere for everybody. So definitely check out that new single coming. It should be a week from Wednesday, whenever this releases, but the 27th if this comes out later than that. So check that out. It's called Heart Eater. But I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming out. I'm excited to hear Heart Eater. I'm excited to see where you go. I love your outlook on music and art and just, being an overall peaceful person.
That means a lot to me.
So I wish you the best. You guys make sure to go follow Rare Phantom, and we'll see you next week on the next episode.